Well, as we were discussing just a moment ago, New Zealand has pushed through historic changes to gun laws in response to the Christchurch massacre. But social media giants are also being called into question for their handling of the videos that came after the attack.
And Jacinda Ardern was asked at a media conference if she would welcome a visit by the Facebook chief executive, Mark Zuckerberg, to discuss live streaming and the platform's role in spreading footage of the massacre. Her response: "I'm not interested in a PR exercise." For tonight's Taking Stock, we're joined by Roxy Jacenko, founder and director of Sweaty Betty PR, and David Toussaint, brand communications expert at The Monkeys. David and Roxy, thank you so much. Yeah, a PR stunt. Roxy, you're the PR queen around here. Would it have been a PR stunt to see Zuckerberg?
Look, I think it would have been, and I think it's completely out of order for him to be making any comments on it. I mean, it's not the reason that it happened. Unfortunately, it's a platform that it was put on. It was taken down very quickly also, as I understand it.
Hotly debated. Not quick enough to say some, but yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, it never made the gunman do what he did. So I don't think Facebook is at fault. Unfortunately, it was publicised through that, but they're not at fault. And is it right for him to make a comment about it? No, I think we need to leave well enough alone and support the family's victims rather than worrying about what Facebook's got to say about it. It's done.
Do you think that eventually there might be something for them to say about this after the dust has settled and emotions aren't so raw?
I think the most important thing for them is to look at ways of getting around this so that it doesn't happen again rather than talking about it. And when they have a solution, then maybe yes, but not before then.
It's interesting, we talk a bit about Facebook having a bit of an image problem at the moment, possibly now more than ever, and maybe even social media more broadly. David, what do you think? Do you think that do you think that's true? And if it is, do you think there's anything that they can do about it right now?
It's interesting to see, I guess, the news that a lot of bad uses of social media get, because they are horrible and it is a tool that people use to spread things. But on the other side of that, there's also a lot of really positive things that do come out of social media. You know, for small businesses that want to get their name out there, for charities trying to get people to jump on things. You think about things like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge that spread completely through Facebook. So there's that side to it. But I think the point is, what they will do after this is, when there's an issue, when somebody finds a problem with tech, a whole bunch of people that know how to do it go in and try to solve it. So whilst this horrible thing was on there, I think the next steps you'll see are people trying to make that technology even better and better while the spotlight is on it.
Do you think the brand is any more damaged from this than the other stuff that we've been talking about with Facebook in recent times, as a brand expert?
Privacy and the election, and they keep coming up, and a lot of brands are deciding to cut their Facebook spends. I mean, you know, the big telcos in New Zealand, some Australian brands have come out and said, we're not going to advertise on your platform while these things are happening. So, I mean, yeah, as a brand, I mean, as Facebook makes its money from advertising, it is having a big effect.
Yeah. I suppose, Roxy, when it all started, when Facebook came out, we all saw it as pretty exciting and new, and now it seems to be kind of more of a necessity and possibly something that's a bit dangerous. Do you think that is a change that they're ever going to be able to reverse?
I think it's so new, and you know, I remember when I was 18, it was MySpace. You think about that, I mean, it doesn't even exist anymore. You know, with anything, I mean, it's not just social media where you hit issues, it's all around us. It's just another platform to be exposed to things that maybe aren't the best things to be exposed to. Look, it's a hard one. You know, it's not Facebook's...
It's complex.
It's not Facebook's fault. It's a new platform. As you said, it's great for small businesses. I mean, I use it not as much as I use Instagram, but it's been hugely effective for my business. I have a hair accessory brand that is run completely through Instagram and Facebook.
So you couldn't exactly say as a business, right, I'm coming off of Facebook and Instagram.
I wouldn't wipe my hands of it. I wouldn't wipe my hands of it. I think, you know, this is a new platform. There's a lot of positives that come out of it, and with anything, there's always going to be some negatives, but that never made this gunman walk into mosques and do what he did, which is absolutely shocking.
Yeah. We were talking there about tech billionaires. There's another story around tech billionaires at the moment, which is Bill and Melinda Gates, two of the most socially responsible people in the world. They've given away billions of dollars to charity over the years. So you would be forgiven for thinking that their wealth is shrinking. Quite the opposite. The news is that they're about $10 billion richer this year than they were a year ago. And they're throwing that on top of a pile that's now around $100 billion. So it's pretty amazing to think that they've set themselves up to be this incredible giver when it comes to charity. Kind of curious about whether or not that still floats when you know that they've got $100 billion still behind them. What do you think?
Look, I think it's very commendable. You know, they could never spend, I mean, I don't think I could ever spend $100 million. The fact that they're actually giving to various charities, I think is very commendable. There's a lot of people out there with even more money who give nothing. So, you know, yes, it is good PR. There is no doubt about it. I know me as a PR company, I'll always support charities like, and not in the capacity obviously they support, but I'll support charities for cancer and so on, and I'll take my clients to those events and pay for their seats because it's nice to be seen to be, if you're entertaining, doing it for a purpose. So look, I think it's an important thing to do. I think that they've got $100 billion, they'd never be able to spend it. So yeah, you know what, keep giving it away. I'd do the same. I mean, I think it's very impressive.
There's actually only two of these guys, and I mean Melinda Gates as well, but two of them in the $100 billion club. It's Bill Gates and it's Jeff Bezos. It's interesting when you kind of go through the internet and see people's response to this, because you know Bill Gates has just joined what was the one-man club, but everyone knows Jeff Bezos actually doesn't give a lot of money to charity at all. That's actually quite well known. And the minute people say Jeff Bezos billionaires, like, yeah, well, he keeps it all for himself.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting juxtaposition of those two men.
Yeah, I think if you take the two of them and you just say like these two guys, even in terms of wealth, one's doing a lot more to do good than the other one, and then you take that away and you say two people that aren't, you know, particularly rich. You know, it's a good example for those people as well to kind of do good themselves. I mean, I think about someone like Bill Gates giving away all this money and how far that's going. That's a really great example to somebody that even makes, you know, 50 grand a year that's not giving any money to charity. Like if all of us gave a little bit more, it would probably add up to a considerable amount too. So in a way, yeah, he could give away billions of dollars more, but it's a pretty shining light for everybody with the reach he has.
What about how it applies to businesses? Because businesses all want to be seen to be socially responsible and supporting charities. You mentioned it yourself, Roxy. How do businesses execute that in a way that, yeah, they're doing good, but I mean, they want to get something out of it as well. I mean, you must come up with that all the time with the stuff you do. We
have briefs that are kind of, you know, the doing good brief, the kind of social cause that you want to align yourself to. You're often a company that maybe has some practices that, you know, the world is kind of turning against. Maybe you use a lot of plastic, maybe you do these different things like that. It's like, what can we show that does good? Maybe we'll do something we'll get a brief about, you know, mental health and those kind of things. So it is definitely a lever that that big brands do pull, the charitable one to get people to think fondly of them.
Yeah, I just keep coming back to this idea that Jeff Bezos doesn't give that much away to charity.
You know, the other thing is as well, though, and I will say this to you, I mean, I've had so many people write on my Instagram, and if I get something new, and they'd say, well, you should do more for charity. There's a lot of people who do a lot for charity, and they don't do a song and dance about it. So whilst we think he may not do anything, he could very possibly donate silently. I mean,
that's a very Australian thing too.
I mean, I donate a lot because I had cancer, so but I don't have to jump up and down and scream about it. You know, I'm not doing it for the recognition. I'm doing it because I want them to find a cure for breast cancer. So whilst we say maybe he doesn't donate, who's to say that he doesn't and do it under the radar?
It's interesting you bring that up because in Australia we've got that whole tall poppy syndrome, and it really affects the philanthropy sector, because a lot of the leaders in the philanthropy sector say, you know, if we actually had more of these Bill Gates and the Warren Buffetts, because he's one of these guys too that stands up and says, I give lots to charity and other people should do too. I mean, culturally we don't actually do that. We kind of don't do that so well in Australia, and it actually holds other people back from giving.
Do people trust where their money goes when it goes to the big charities these days anyway? Because you
that's a big problem the charity sector's had.
You know, the guys on the street that are standing there with clipboards, you often hear that they work for agencies. They're not you know, kind of going directly to charity. Where do you give your money? It's pretty complicated.
Yeah, and the charity sector's had to work pretty hard the last kind of 5 years, and there was a charities commission that came in to try and fix up that problem. But yes, I think that's a big problem that we've definitely had, and they're kind of working on. So, yeah.
Certainly. It's interesting. We're going to move on to a topic now that's completely the opposite end of the scale, really, because in 2018, Americans admitted to spending almost $40 billion while they were drunk. A little over half said that they spent their drunk dollars on food. You can pretty much understand that one. Others said that they tend to buy things like shoes, clothing, cigarettes was a big one. Stunningly though, 10% of people, 1 in 10, said that they had bought a car while drunk, which is a huge purchase. 14% said that they had booked a vacation. These are pretty stunning type of things.
I think they were drunk when they filled out the survey.
Apparently. Like
this is, no one buys a car when they're
staggering
drunk.
Stuff.
1 in 10,
David Toussaint, thoughts?
Well, it just made me think about why Jeff Bezos is so rich if all these people are getting drunk and shopping going on.
Hey, that's a great point.
There was a segue.
Yeah, there you go, perfect. I didn't think of it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's getting easier and easier to buy stuff, have it delivered to you. The experiences that you have online now just make it, you know, so seamless to kind of get from one point to a basket. You don't even know what happened, and you've got something at your desk the next day. So, I mean, it's kind of great advice for anyone thinking of building a website. Make it so good that you can use it when you're drunk.
Yes.
And you're kind of going to have a great business spike there.
Roxy, what did you think about these numbers?
Look, I've done it. I'm guilty. I remember I was actually overseas and I'd had a very nice lunch and then decided to go and buy 4 pairs of shoes, of which none of them fit me. I realised the next day, I don't know how
Didn't even try them on?
I don't know how I squeezed my foot into that 36 on the 39. So I have done it. I'm guilty of it. I believe it. But I've never bought a car.
No, a car or a holiday.
Well,
It seems
thank
next
God
level,
I've never bought a car because my taste in cars is rather extravagant. So thank goodness.
You'd have to be really drunk.
What about you, Brooke?
I was really struggling to think of examples. I think I'm more the type where if you're in a bar and I've drunk too much, I'll just say, I'll buy everyone drinks.
Oh, yeah, well, that's generous.
We need to hang
that's
out
nice.
with you.
That's fun.
I'm more likely to do that. It was interesting because I was looking up a London doctor's take on exactly this topic and why people do it, which is always interesting to see why actual experts think we do it. Increased impulsivity, so anything that's tap and go or easy to put in a cart. You also have this idea of social behaviours becoming more extreme when people are intoxicated. So this is called alcohol-induced friendliness, which I think we can all relate to.
Sounds good.
And that's probably where I fall into the trap, I would think.
That's much...
He also said there's definitely memory loss, which we know, and booze is also known to reduce stress. So when you're drunk, you don't think about the bills, the phone bills, the rent. You just don't worry about all that.
No.
So that's the doctor.
We're going to the pub now.
That's nice, exactly. And then maybe to the kebab shop and the
well, you can go to the
if it's
kebab
me,
shop.
I'll do that.
I'll be on Net-a-Porter.
Well, that's my problem.
Exactly.
Exactly right. Roxy Jasenko, thank you very much. David Toussaint,
I got out of that one.
Thank you.
Got out of that one.
I did. Well, it's
up to the
Macca's.
kebab shop.
It's always been Macca's. I'm sorry.
Harmless.
I always end up there.
Harmless,
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.